Hi there, this is Dennis from thesoundadvisor.com. I want to talk a little bit about parametric EQ. So this right here is a parametric EQ that comes stock with Pro Tools. And it's come with just about every version of Pro Tools. This happens to be Pro Tools 11, and this is a 7-band EQ. Now whether you have Logic or you have Cubase, Nuendo, you're going to have something very similar in there. It could be in a channel strip or whatever, but it's going to be there. So we're going to look at a couple different things on this EQ. So first is the low frequencies down here. Now we have two types. We have a bell type curve or we have a shelving EQ. So let's just play with the shelving real quick. So I have it set to 100 hertz, and I'll even bring that up. I'll bring it to 200 so we can see it a little bit better. Now if I bring up that frequency, and I got to turn it on, you'll see it raises from 200 and below equally at like a shelf would, or I can lower it just like that. Now this knob right here is sort of how harsh that curve is going to be. I can make it very gentle or very harsh. Generally something a little bit gentle is where you want to be. Now this right here is the bell, so I can make a bell type of EQ out of this. So I can raise and lower the frequency with this knob or type the value in right here. Or I can grab this knob and affect the Q or bandwidth of that bell. And I can raise and lower that just like that. If I move over to this frequency, this is simply just a bell type EQ. You can't adjust it to anything else. So I can either raise, lower that, adjust the frequency up or down, and also tighten that bandwidth or Q and widen it. And generally something a little bit like that is where you're going to want to be. So this one right here, the mid, is the same thing. The high mid, same thing, just bells. And then we get up to the high frequencies. And this is very similar to the low, but affects the high. So this button right here is the shelving button. So if I engage this band, and this is now set to 8,000, let me just put it to 2,000 so we can really see it happen. Let me raise it up, and you can see just like the low, it's everything from that point up, it's going to bring up or down. And then this knob is the same thing. It's how harsh or gentle that slope is. I can then change that to a bell if I want, and I can do the same thing, raise, lower that, move it up and down frequency-wise, or change the width of that frequency that it's going to affect. So there's two other types over here. Let me turn that off. We have a high-pass filter and a low-pass filter. Now let me just engage the high-pass filter and put it on the slope. So the names are a little bit backwards to what a lot of people think they should be called. So a high-pass filter, I'm filtering all the lows off and allowing the highs to pass. And vice versa, when I filter the highs, I'm allowing the lows to pass, and that's where they get their name from. So let's just go over this. So over here on the high-pass filter, I can affect the frequency at which the cut begins. And you can see the slope right here and how it's sort of a gentle slope. I can increase that with this, and it's how many dB per octave it's affecting. So it gets to be a more harsh curve like that. I can also change that to a bell curve by clicking that, and this will also affect, you can see the width of that band. And I change the frequency up and down like that. So I'll disengage that, and then let's play with the high, or the low pass filter. So right now, it's affecting from 4,350 hertz. Let me just change that to an even 2,000 so we can really see it happen. So right now it's set to a very harsh curve. And if I can make that a little bit smoother by just doing 6 dB per octave, and I can bring that up all the way up there. I can do the same thing. I can raise and lower that frequency that it's going to affect. I can change it to a bell also and play with the width. On this one, we have a phase button as well, which is going to allow that channel to be flipped out of phase. We can talk a little bit more about phasing later. All right, thanks.